And Christine, I'm sure that, as you were going through this process, there was a lot of obstacles and a lot of people that maybe needed some convincing.
Right. I was a yes vote, so I want to keep my vote as it is. But, yeah, and I think that what I heard from was really, when you have a broad idea, a big idea that's good for the district, there is still going to be pockets of groups or individuals or even community members where it doesn't benefit them. But our current way wasn't benefiting them either. And that took a lot, in my opinion, of convincing. And I don't think that some of those people have yet to really understand the benefit this has made in our district, because their little 4-person, 5-person group doesn't necessarily see it. So I think that is going to be on our administration and athletic staff and even the board to make sure we get that message out so that everybody does see the benefit for all.
And that's another thing that kids get excited about: new uniforms, new shoes, new helmets, new everything like that. And Christine, I'm sure that you've heard from people, and parents especially, who are just thrilled at what's happened.
Yeah, and I have a son who's in junior high, and he had to wear an old basketball uniform and didn't care much for it, so I told him, just give it time, son. Yeah, I have heard both good and bad about that aspect of the program, and maybe not bad so much, but maybe skepticism, like, are we really going to see this money? And I always have to remind people, did you see it before? Because some of these small groups, like what Bruce said, they weren't able to raise any money. And so if we can give them $1,500, it is $1,500 more than they had before. And over time, with kind of some steamrolling and potentially getting some more groups even more involved, we do still have some fundraising going on in the district. And I think that what it's allowed our parents to do is to stop focusing on printing a media guide that at one school was one way and another school was another. One team was showcased at one school, another school it was just one side piece of paper. So there's a little bit more equity when it comes to that. I believe, based on the events I've gone to. And it'll allow parents to be a little bit more strategic on how they do spend their time and their volunteer hours.
And I would imagine with 3 high schools now, had the status quo continued, it would have been even more of a gap between the 3.
Well, yeah, because you have to give Battle new equipment to start off. So the immediate perception is going to be, and I'm sure some of that exists now, oh, they got all new stuff. Well, they need it because they're just starting. They can't use, Gentry Middle School uniforms or Oakland uniforms, or they need the new things. And so then that automatically creates inequity. But I think some of that is getting, as we start to get closer to the opening and people see some of the give back starting to occur, that will become less and less the issue.
And
one of the negatives, I have to say,
sure,
it's kind of funny, the whole pouring rights. Diet Coke, the debate over Coke or Pepsi, it was kind of cracked me up a little bit, like, okay, does it really matter? And when we found out in all of our schools that what was being charged differently in schools with a soda machine. And so now at least, again, we can have some equity and, okay, everyone is going to be charged, I don't even know what it is now, 75 cents or $1.25, whatever. But we had a couple people talk to us at the board meeting about how they really wanted another type of soda. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Jonathan, I'm sure you heard good things and bad things right away, didn't you?
There were a lot of concerns, and like Chris said, the board did their due diligence. We spent a lot of time talking to the athletic directors in the district, talking to the coaches, talking to the booster clubs, talking to the folks at Kelly, talking to our administration team. We had a lot of concerns. This was a very new way of approaching this, and there was a lot of potential. We saw that. We saw the benefit of creating equity among all of our programs throughout the district, but there was also a lot of concerns as to what it might do to some of these booster clubs that already existed, because we do have a lot of very strong booster clubs with a lot of community support, and we didn't want to undermine that social part of the booster clubs, and so that was important to us as well.
Did you get some pushback initially?
We had a little bit of pushback. I know that we were approached by individuals that were concerned that there would be the over marketing and the concerns that we would soon start selling advertising on every inch of the school, and those were a lot of the concerns we heard. We also heard concerns about whether or not programs would be getting the same amount of funding that they were getting previously, or funding to the same level or funding to the same level that was being brought in by the booster clubs. And so that was another big concern that we heard. And I think it's turned out in both cases that the advertising is appropriate levels, it's good wholesome advertising in a good wholesome environment, and that all of our programs are getting more than what they expected.
And Jonathan, that's one of the things, the results that's come out of this, even in the first 2.5 years. So you got to think maybe the sky's the limit when you think 5 to 10 years down the road.
Well, absolutely. One of the things that when we were looking at this program and approved this program, one of the things that I thought about was that it can be expanded to additional programs beyond the athletics. It's designed, it will involve theater and music and all the other competitive and extracurricular activities that are going on in the public schools. So there's so much room to grow and so much room to continuously improve this program and find new opportunities for our community and for our students.